I'm still ticked off about Massie losing.
Well, polls close in a few hours in Kentucky, and it is probably one of the highest states.
Massie loses, unfortunately, and that is something I'm actively angry at Trump over. I don't think I've been actually angry at Trump. He does things I haven't liked. I thought were terrible, but his going after Massie, one of the few honest people in Congress. No, I'm ticked off.
States primary of our lifetime. It is a battle between the people of Kentucky and Israeli donors. There's no other way to see it if you count up the ducats.
And Israeli donors won.
$2 million has been spent this week on just one little Kentucky primary. This is again between Ed Galrain, who was, I want to say, handpicked by the Trump administration to oust Thomas Massie because Massie has been a thorn in the side of the administration, asking for the Epstein files, asking for financial transparency, and voting against foreign wars consistently through the Biden administration and through the Trump administration. But Massie's campaign...
Yeah, fuck Trump for this.
Campaign has raised some impressive money too. They've raised over $5.5 million. The average donation between $80 and $100. Now, Track AIPAC has calculated that his opponent, Ed Galrain, has taken over $15 million from AIPAC alone, whereas Massie refuses all.
Looks like someone who has owned by Israel.
All foreign donations, not just AIPAC, but from other countries as well. Now, today, at a last-minute campaign stop, Massie said that if he has to concede the race, he's going to call Tel Aviv to concede. Watch his little joke there.
You know, just in case I lose, they gave me the number to call to concede. The area code is Tel Aviv, though.
All right. And if you weren't already convinced that this is all about Israel, here is Israeli newspaper Haaretz. This is their front page today, conceding the fact that this is a big race for Israel. The stakes are high for Israel because if somebody who speaks against the wealthy donor class can still win, that weakens their power quite clearly. Here is CBS News, run by Zionist Barry Weiss, and the reporter here asking him about his refusal to accept foreign money. Now watch when he says, I reject all foreign aid. The reporter says, but Israel. I mean, they don't even pretend that they care about any other place but Israel. And then they go on with the ever so predictable, are you anti-Semitic? Watch.
When you say that they spent money to try to buy this, who are you talking about specifically?
I'm talking about the Israeli lobby, AIPAC, Republican Jewish Coalition, Miriam Adelson, Paul Singer, and John Paulson. These are the groups that have given 95% of the money to my opponent because they're mad at me over foreign policy. Now, what's interesting is my policy has always been, no country is special and no country deserves...
Yeah, I'm not forgiving Trump for this one. So, yeah, consider myself actively against him now. Before I was just, oh, my idiot ended his political career by attacking Iran. No, that's not forgivable. Getting Massie out. Nope.
My constituents' taxpayer dollars. So I have never voted for foreign aid to Egypt, to Syria, to Israel, or to Ukraine. But the ones in Israel, since they're the biggest recipients of it, that makes them a little bit mad.
What's so wrong about helping defend Israel from Iranian threats?
We've got debt. I mean, at least with NATO, there's the promise of a reciprocal arrangement. With Israel, it's completely one way. And they drug us into wars. They've convinced us that Iran is just days away from a nuclear weapon, and they're perpetually that way. This is not our war. Israel, for instance, funds abortions publicly. I think a lot of Republicans would be aghast to know that we're giving $3.8 billion a year, every year, to a country that funds public abortions.
You know that kind of criticism doesn't sit well with fellow Republicans, at least in the House Republican Conference, that there are others who've accused you of all sorts of things regarding...
That's how you smear someone. There are others who have accused you of all sorts of things. Like what?
Israel, regarding the state of Israel, regarding the Israeli government, regarding Jewish Americans. Are you anti-Semitic?
There he is. There's a smear.
They're trying to tell you that it's anti-Semitic for me to expose the fact that the Republican Jewish Coalition has spent millions of dollars in this race. That a dual citizen, Miriam Adelson, who even Trump says is more loyal to Israel than the United States, has spent millions of dollars in this race. Those are mere facts. And it's
Okay,
really...
It's a yes or no. Are you anti-Semitic?
Oh, hell.
So dishonest, the reporter.
No.
Okay. Again, it's just such a lazy jump. Like he mentions Egypt, he mentions Ukraine and Syria. Yeah, we don't care about those places. We only care about Israel. This makes
Just asking the question is trying to smear. Because, of course, anyone you ask that question to is going to say no. So what's the point of asking? Well, it's to smear them. They don't ask that question to other people.
you anti-Semitic, right? It's lazy and it's trite and it's boring. Joining us to discuss is Dan McAdams. He's the executive director of the Ron Paul Institute and the co-host of the Ron Paul Liberty Report. Great energy around this race, Dan, because this is a template for what Dr. Paul has always been trying to do. Can you speak to what's at stake right now?
Well, I think everything is at stake right now. I think, the sane tiny bit of sanity that remains in American politics wants Thomas Massie to win for a number of reasons. But, it's interesting. I mean, there seems to be a bit of desperation, even though they outspent him by such a huge factor. But if you remember, this entire thing was not really about the Israel lobby up until, sort of toward the end. It was Thomas Massie votes with Democrats all the time. Well, the facts show that he votes with Republicans and votes conservative even more than his fellow Republicans do. And they've done dirty.
He votes against the deep state. That's why he's a problem.
Tricks. I was reading some people were talking to people that left the polls who voted for Galrain, and they said they were led to vote against Massie because of this video ad showing him actually in bed, I guess, having relations with Ilhan Omar and AOC. It's using deep fakes to make it, to sort of raise these horrible issues. These are dirty tricks that they're using.
So basically lost because of dirty tricks funded by Jewish money, Israeli money.
On against Massie, so I think they're desperate right now. I do not know what will happen. I don't have a sense. I'm trying to read the tea leaves to figure out what might happen. But the polls can't be trusted. That's for sure. And what they've done, guys, that I think is very, very suspicious. And I'm an old election monitor from the '90s when I was living in Europe. These betting markets are replacing polls, and they can be much more easily manipulated even than polls. When they wanted to throw an election overseas, for example, a poll would be released that would be completely fake. And if the results didn't turn out that way, then they would accuse the winning side of cheating. And I think we're seeing some of that being replicated here.
Right. You mentioned like Polymarket and Kalshi and these other betting markets. Well, we know that just last week we had Congressman Massie on, and someone clearly like a millionaire or somebody threw a ton of money into the betting market on Polymarket, and it showed Massie's numbers plummeting as a result of it. That has nothing to do with people on the phone answering who they're going to vote for. It can be swayed easily with millions of dollars. So I guess that's a sad thing to look at. Not that I really ever trusted polls anyway. I mean, but at least we could get a sense of where things were moving with actual people answering questions rather than these betting markets. I'm troubled by that, to be sure.
I mean, if you go on X and you look at anyone posting these betting markets, they will always say polls are showing Massie losing massively. The general public doesn't seem to understand the difference between the betting market, the poly market, and these other sites and actual polls. And if they can spend tens of millions of dollars to oust him, as you very well point out, you can get a couple of people to put in a couple of $1 million. And really, we've seen some wide swings in these betting markets recently.
Can I ask you whether you think that is this a referendum right now on whether a member of Congress can be allowed to vote against foreign aid to Israel or otherwise and survive politically? I mean,
well, now we know he couldn't. It's terrible. I'm mad, of course, that Israeli money defeated Massie, but I'm more mad at Trump, that Trump endorsed that this was something Trump wanted to unseat Massie. That pisses me off. He wouldn't have lost, by the way. Israeli money aside, if Trump had endorsed Massie, he wouldn't have lost. He still has that much power with Republicans, and the Jewish money wouldn't have been enough to unseat him. So this Massie lost because Trump turned against him. Trump is a traitor because Massie represents the will of the American people. Wanting the Epstein files, the will of the American people. And Trump didn't like that, and Trump goes after him for it. Fuck Trump for this.
Is this really a moment to say to other politicians, hey, you better fall in line and vote to send money to Israel, otherwise this machine, $32 million, is coming for you, Lauren Boebert. You're next.
I think that's what they're hoping, but I think they may actually say, for example, God forbid, if Massie loses, I think that
it would be terrific if he'd won, but he actually lost. Yes,
the AIPAC and the Israel lobby may lose by winning. Because, they always operated behind the scenes. When I was in the house with Dr. Paul, they always were sort of sub rosa operating behind the scenes. They didn't want their hands to be too completely out there and open. But now they are openly saying we can buy congressional candidates at will. And Americans are going to start asking why. What the hell is
just outlaw AIPACs. Yeah, right.
going on here?
Well, wouldn't be that easy.
do we have a country left? So I think by showing their heads, by showing their faces, by showing the raw power that they have, 1,000 times more than even when Pat Buchanan recognized it, 30 years ago, Americans, I think, will start waking up. So they're putting everything into this desperate race. But if they win, I think ultimately they're going to lose.
Now, President Trump just a few minutes ago took to his old X account at Real Donald Trump. He doesn't use it very often. The last time he actually typed something into X instead of like reposting his Truth Socials, which he usually does, it's annoying, was about Melania's movie in January. So he actually, you can tell that he's rattled. He's saying that Congressman Massie put out an old endorsement from years ago when I did endorse him, but now I'm endorsing Ed Galrain, withdraw this old statement. This is who I want. It feels a little panicked. Can you talk about what may actually divide and possibly reinvent the right?
No, that's exactly true. And the thing is that Thomas Massie's voting has not changed. If you look at how he's voted in the past, he's always been consistent. In that way, he's most like Ron Paul. He never changes. He has a set of principles that he lays out. They're very transparent.
Yeah, he's on the same level as Ron Paul, someone who has integrity. And there's so few people like that in Congress that for Trump to play any role in getting one of them out of Congress, fuck Trump.
And he simply follows them. So it's President Trump that's changed. But I think what's happening is two things. The current Republican Party is killing the future of the Republican Party. We have seen the age divide in Massey supporters. It's incredible. It is dramatic. When you look at voters under 40 years old, for example, they are massively in favor of Tom Massie in his own district. But when you look at the boomer class, the people in their 60s and 70s and beyond, they are the
ones who still consume mainstream media and ones most vulnerable to dishonest election ads.
Other way for Galrain. They're doing what they're told to do by Fox News, which they watch as a heroin addict is shooting up heroin. They can't get away from it. And so, but this is dying out. And the young people now who feel ripped off over this race, they're not going to join Democratic Party because they're not Democrats. They're not going to vote or they're going to look to something new. So again, the Republican Party is committing suicide as well by doing this.
Yeah.
What does this say about the right at this point, to Natalie's question? I mean, I don't want to dive in too much to the MAGA piece of this, but what does it mean to be...
Trump betrayed MAGA. That's why there's this schism. We need to get rid of Trump now.
Conservative.
I mean, the Iran war was bad enough. Going after Massie, that annoys me more. I mean, someone wants to 25th him, I'm all for it.
If you can't vote for a guy like Thomas Massie or support a guy like Thomas Massie, what does it mean to be conservative in 2026?
Exactly.
They have an identity crisis. Oh, you're not for smaller government. You're not for stopping going in expensive wars that, by the way...
Sorry. I needed to sneeze.
If you're pro-life, you're killing a lot of people overseas, thousands and thousands and millions of people overseas. So you're not that. You're not culturally conservative. You're not pro-2A because Thomas Massie is probably the most pro-gun member of Congress. What is the future? What is the future Republican Party? Is it a personality cult based around a person who not only won't be president in 3 years, may not even be around in 3 years? The guy's old and he looks like he's deteriorating. So what is the future of the right? I think this is an unbelievable opportunity, despite all of the downsides, for people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who gave a speech at our recent conference that was incredible, and it sort of hints at a new coalescence of people in politics, and that would include someone like Thomas Massie. I would argue someone like Joe Kent. People will call it the radical center. I don't like that because I don't like the center. I don't like the idea of the center. But I think there is, at least for a new sort of caucus among the right, there's definitely something right for it now.
Now, President Trump, was trying to give a laundry list of why Thomas Massie is bad, but the actual ideologies were things that he has stood for. Watch this.
Yeah, Thomas Massie's a terrible congressman. He voted against men playing in women's sports. He voted against transgender for everybody, the mutilization of your children. He voted against...
That's all stuff. That's good.
Again, open borders. We have the best border we've ever had right now. Nobody's coming in. I mean, a report just came out. In the last 11 months, literally nobody has been allowed into our country illegally.
Okay.
So Massie, he voted against all the trans agenda. He voted against having men play in girls' sports.
He voted against mutilating your children. Didn't we want to mutilate children?
So he sort of inadvertently endorses Massie here by making this admission.
I mean, at this point, you have to wonder if Trump even knows what Trump is saying. I mean, he seems so addled, and I can't stand Biden. He was horrible. His brain was complete mush, but he's actually starting to look good in terms of his cognizance.
No, I know. Biden was worse. But Trump is starting to look closer to that. I mean, just look at him there when he was speaking. Trump, he was speaking coherently, Biden couldn't even do that. He couldn't even like form coherent sentences reliably. So Trump is better than Biden.
When you look at Trump, Trump literally makes things up out of thin air. He doesn't know reality from fiction. He claims that the Arab Gulf states begged him to not start bombing Iran, and the Gulf states said, well, we didn't even know he was going to bomb Iran again. Everything is a complete lie, even down to the most minute things. So yes, we get what happened. He got confused, but it happens pretty often with him.
Right.
Well, I was going to say, I'm not one to be. I certainly don't. I don't like this cult of personality and people like sort of tying their futures to a human being. Trump's my savior, et cetera. Massie's my savior. But when you look at this Kentucky race, it's hard not to see that this is really a moment. This idea that, forget the person, Thomas Massie, what this is signaling is the future of conservatism, the future of this country. And if we can just be bought and sold like this from a foreign, a foreign lobby, I feel like it's like a hopeless situation if this doesn't go the way that we want it to.
Yeah, it could lead us toward a civil war even. I mean, on the one hand, it's the people of Kentucky 4 getting good leadership, which is great. But on the other hand, if he does win, this could be the high watermark of one of the most insidious chapters of U.S. history, which is the Israeli dominance of U.S. politics. And if that happens, that will be the beginning, I think, of the reemergence of liberty, possibly. So it's much more important than Kentucky 4. I think you're absolutely right.
Now, it's hard not to see the through line, though, because
The thing is, left is very anti-Israel, or the younger left especially, because of the Gaza situation. This gives the reason for anyone on the right, anyone that was against was for releasing the Epstein files, for example. Having Massie voted out by the Israeli lobby, that gives people on the right a reason to hate Israel. Very powerful one.
a couple hours ago, President Trump endorsed Ken Paxton, the Attorney General of Texas. Now, I think Ken Paxton has done some interesting things, but he is a loyal Zionist. He has punished people for criticizing Israel, made that illegal in the state of Texas, consistently stood with Israel. He has been strong on election integrity and border security, but so has Massie. So one guy gets punished and the other guy gets endorsed. Is there any other way to see it?
Yeah, fuck Trump for this.
Simplistic?
Well, in June of 1989, the Berlin Wall seemed as solid as a rock. There were no indications, real indications that something world-changing, history-changing would take place. All it took were a few people starting to chip off a few stones, and before you knew it, it was completely gone. So I think revolutions happen very slowly and quite quickly, like bankruptcy happens. So I think if the high watermark is reached here, if you can accuse a foreign lobby of buying your election and they lose for the first time, I think AIPAC has like a 95% success rate in getting their people elected into Congress. If they lose, that will be the
They don't lose, unfortunately. Massie was voted out.
indication that they are not all powerful as a lot of Americans think they are.
Dan, we'll get you out of here on this. What do you see here? Polls close in just a few hours, depending on people if they watch the replay of the show later.
The result of that. Galrain defeats Massie in Kentucky, furthering Trump's hold on GOP. Well, fuck Trump for this one. I'm not serious. I am serious. This annoys me more than anything Trump's done that I can remember. So, yeah, to me, it's unforgivable. There are so few honest people in Congress. For Trump to play a role in getting rid of one of the few honest people, no. I'm not going to forgive this one. Anyway, this will be on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Come watch or kick our Twitch. And I'll see you next video. Bye. I'm still annoyed. Annoyed, angry, not happy.